From the heart of Yerevan to all corners of the world, this is CivilNet's Daily News Digest for Wednesday, November 20th. I'm Paul Chaderjian. Maria Titizian is on assignment in Istanbul. Right now, 2 years in the making, the presidents of Armenia and Azerbaijan finally come face to face. Plus, the Civilitas Foundation begins regular and deeper coverage of developments in Istanbul. And the Wings of Tatev celebrates its 3rd birthday. Find out how many people have used the aerial tramway so far. Later, Israeli and German artists come to Armenia with a gift to celebrate Sayat Nova. Armenian President Sargsyan met with Azerbaijan's President Ilham Aliyev in Vienna yesterday. This was the first Sargsyan-Aliyev meeting in nearly 2 years. During their 2-hour meeting, the presidents promised to speed up the Nagorno-Karabakh border conflict resolution. When asked how the talks went, President Sargsyan told Radio Free Europe that it was normal. The OSCE Minsk Group, which is brokering the negotiations, issued a statement after the meeting. The statement reads, "The presidents agreed to advance negotiations toward a peaceful settlement. They instructed their foreign ministers to continue to cooperate with the co-chairs to build on the work to date with the aim of intensifying the peace process." End of quote. The co-chairs of the Minsk Group said the next meeting planned is between the Armenian and Azerbaijani foreign ministers. As part of the visit, President Sargsyan also met with Austrian President Heinz Fischer. Armenian Foreign Minister Edward Nalbandian met with his Russian counterpart Sergey Lavrov yesterday before heading to Vienna himself. Mr. Nalbandian said that he and Mr. Lavrov talked about preparations for Russian President Vladimir Putin's upcoming visit to Armenia. Putin's visit is expected to start on December 2nd. The two foreign ministers also talked about bilateral military, political, and technical cooperation. In Istanbul on Monday, about 150 people gathered to mark the beginning of an enhanced Civilitas presence in Istanbul. Civilitas says the enhanced presence will allow us, CivilNet.am, the internet television arm of the Civilitas Foundation, to provide deeper and more regular coverage of developments in Istanbul involving the Armenian community, the arts and non-governmental organization communities, as well as official and international circles. Civilitas says that at the core of the Foundation's activities in Turkey will be highlighting the heritage of the Armenians of the Ottoman Empire and the Republic of Turkey. The work of the Civilitas Istanbul Center will be carried out by a rotating group of Civilitas Yerevan staffers. They will participate in NGO events in Istanbul and also prepare projects and program ideas for future implementation, not just by Civilitas, but by others seeking effective, impactful cooperation. Civilitas will be working out of the offices made available to it on Istiklal Street in the Hediviyal Palace, which is one of the many old structures belonging to Armenian foundations. My colleague Maria Titizian will return Thursday with more on this story. Mayors representing more than 5,000 cities and towns in Eastern Europe, the South Caucasus, Central Asia, and Northern Africa gathered to explore renewable and efficient energy sources and to work together in reducing CO2 emissions by 20% by the year 2020. Attending the 2-day conference in Istanbul were a number of representatives from Armenia who spoke to CivilNet's Maria Yahyazarian.
Hundreds of mayors from cities, towns and villages all across Eastern Europe and South Caucasus, Central Asia and Northern Africa gathered in Istanbul, Turkey for a 2-day Global Energy Sustainability Conference on November 14th and 15th. Those assembled came together voluntarily to discuss how to meet their communities' energy needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs.
We're happy to welcome all of you.
On the agenda at the Covenant of Mayors Conference was how to develop and implement sustainable energy policies, how to use renewable energy and lower carbon emissions by 20% by the year 2020.
Learning about these energy efficiency projects give us great new opportunities. It would be great to implement projects that are being used in Europe, the countries of the European Union, in the Caucasus countries as well.
Participating for the first time this year were representatives from the Republic of Armenia. Among them were deputy mayors of Aparan, Hrazdan and Tsakadzor. Natalia Lapauri is the director of the Armenian Community Alliance. She says that Armenia had previously not been active in global initiatives like the Covenant of Mayors Conference.
This is an opportunity to meet the big players from Europe who solve serious issues of financing, that is, investment banks, foundations. And I think the direct link between the community representative and the donors is a rather large positive step. Energy efficiency is a very important matter for our country, taking into account that a rather large portion of the community budget is dedicated to the issues of energy expenditure, and this is very important for our communities.
Armenia's representatives at the Covenant of Mayors pledged that more communities from the Republic will become signatories of the Covenant and join the global effort to lower carbon emissions, use renewable energy, and find ways to use clean, sustainable energy.
Remember Shant Harun? He's the man who said he was going to lead a revolution on Friday, November 5th. The now imprisoned Harun supporters gathered at the National Security Service building to defend him. Supporter Vartan Harun said that after President Sarkisyan's announcement that Armenia would enter the Russian-led customs union on September 3rd, Harun resorted to civil disobedience. Harunyan's supporters say that the media and the government want to portray him as someone who has mental problems. His supporters say that they have information that Harun may be taken to a mental hospital, but they refuse to say where they got the information. You may remember the Armenian national Hracha Harun, who lost control of his employer's truck and crashed into a bus outside of Moscow mid-July. That crash took the lives of 18 people and injured more than 60 others. After his arrest, Russian investigators and prison officials brought Harun to court dressed in a pink and green floral robe with women's slippers. Yesterday, his lawyers filed a lawsuit against the investigators for violating Russian law, not protecting the rights of a prisoner, and unjust treatment. The lawyers say investigators would not give Harun anything else to wear and refused to call his relatives and ask for clothing. Harun, by the way, had gone to Moscow to find work and pay for a tombstone for his son who had just died. Harunyan's appearance in women's apparel led to protests outside the Russian embassy in Armenia. We know a lot of people in Armenia smoke, and today there's a number to put on the cigarette consumption in the Republic. The Ministry of Health says Armenians smoke between 4.5 to 5 billion cigarettes a year. A deputy at the ministry says one reason for the high consumption is low-cost tobacco products. The deputy also says that while the number of men smoking is decreasing, the number of women smoking is increasing. Armenia's Association of Winemakers reports that at the 5th annual Eno Expo 2013 International Wine Trade Fair held in Krakow, Poland last week, the Armenian wine Malishka Areni won the gold medal in the dry red table wine competition. The aged wine from the Areni region beat Italian, Portuguese, Spanish, and Georgian wines. More than 500 wines from wineries in Europe participated. Before this latest honor, the Maran Winery's Bakraduni white table wine received the gold medal from the Paris-based International Organization of Vine and Wine, which held its annual contest in Moscow. Monday marked the 3rd anniversary of the world's longest aerial tramway, which was built to provide fast access for tourists visiting the medieval monastery of Tatev in the southern Armenian Mars of Syunik. In the past 3 years, the Wings of Tatev, as it is called, has moved 207,000 people. The aerial tramway or ropeway is a 5.7 kilometer long ropeway, and it was built to help develop tourism and spur a revival in the region. The cable cars on the ropeway travel at 37 kilometers or around 23 miles an hour, and they cross the Vorodan River Valley, which would take about 90 minutes to cross by car. The ropeway takes about 11 minutes from one end to the other. Since the start of the tramway's operations, the number of hotels in the nearby city of Goris has jumped from 2 to 10. Families in the villages around the monastery have also turned their homes into bed and breakfasts. Being built now is a new hotel near the monastery and several new restaurants, as well as a playground for kids. To get tourists to spend more time near the monastery, there are now 14 different tours that are offered, including one that is a 3-day excursion. There are more tours being planned for next year. There are also plans to renovate the monastery and finish the reconstruction project by the year 2017. That's when the monastery will celebrate its 1111th anniversary. Armenian and Azerbaijan, the director of the Tatev Revival Project, says over the years the monastery's foundations have weakened because of earthquakes, and the ancient monastery has taken a beating over the centuries. To find out more about the ropeway and about the Tatev Revival Program, you can point and click your way to the site tatev.am. Today's exchange rate is on the screen as we take a look at the forecast. Yerevan and Gyumri will remain partly cloudy with a high of 13 in Yerevan and a high of 5 in Gyumri. It'll be raining in Stepanakert with a high of 5 degrees. And today's travel forecast takes us to rainy Berlin, where the high today will be 7 degrees. Finally tonight at the Opera on Friday, Berlin Symphony Orchestra's principal conductor Lior Shambadal took the lead of the Armenian Philharmonic Orchestra. On the program was young Israeli composer Anna Segal's The Songs of the Soul, based on poems of Sayat Nova. Anna says she started working on her compositions several years ago when she watched Sergei Parajanov's The Color of Pomegranate. Also on the program on Friday was the rare performance of one of Richard Wagner's operas. The last and only one performed at the opera in Yerevan was Tannhäuser in 1965. That is our digest for this Wednesday. I'll be back tomorrow, and Maria Titizian will be here starting Friday. We leave you now with more from the Armenian Philharmonic.